Standing on the south bank of the Thames where just a few weeks ago I saw a tourist being stopped by 3 armed policemen. He was carrying a camcorder. The government says it has no intention of preventing legitimate photography. That may be the case, but it still happens. Photographers feel hounded for pursuing perfectly legitimate hobby or profession, falling victim to anti-terror laws, paranoia over paedophiles, and seemingly a crackdown on commercial photography. To make matters worse, a new law came into effect in February this year, which could have you arrested for taking a picture of a policeman, or a policewoman for that matter. And London is at the centre of these restrictions. In short, they feel their civil rights are being abused. Today we're going to look at how you can avoid being stopped in public whilst taking pictures. This is often a place where police community support officers patrol, looking for photographers, and I've seen on my way home from work several people being stopped. Probably, I found one the other day just for using a tripod. Okay, I've just come through underneath the Westminster Bridge underpass, and I just asked 2 minutes ago a community support officer what the position is for taking pictures on the opposite side of Parliament. There is no private property there, seemingly, so you would not need a permit. However, last week I asked the photographer why he'd been stopped, and the officer had told him that he needed a permit, so clearly there's a lot of confusion among the police as to what the actual law is. This is one of many bridges on the River Thames. As you can see, beautiful location. It's still early in the morning, not that many tourists around. But key infrastructure are deemed to be terrorist targets, particularly in central London and other major cities. So photographers need to be aware that if they are being stopped, it could be because police are being very cautious about people taking photographs, which they say may be used for surveillance reasons by terrorists plotting a terrorist operation. However, many people will say there's been too many of these happening. Amateur Photographer magazine gets a lot of complaints about this, so many that we've lost count. And just be aware that you have a right as a photographer, and if you want to complain to your chief constable of the local police, and in fact your local MP. Well, it's early in the morning and it seems that community support officers haven't got up yet. I'm here opposite the Houses of Parliament on the South Bank, and we find often photographers being stopped around this area. My advice to anybody who's carrying a camera is to be aware that security personnel might come down on you like a ton of bricks, particularly in this South Bank location where a licence is required to take commercial photographs because it's private land essentially. I have now moved on to St James's Park, quite near to Horse Guards Parade, and the autumn colours are just taking effect, and it would all look very beautiful, and it does look beautiful, but you'd be surprised that if you are taking pictures in royal parks, of which St James's Park is a royal park, then you do need to get a permit from royal parks before you take pictures which you plan to sell. So just bear that in mind. It looks like it's a public area, and indeed it is to all intents and purposes, apart from the fact that if you are doing commercial photography, you will need to get a permit. We have had readers of Amateur Photographer being stopped and asked, I think one was actually last year or a couple of years ago, in a Remembrance Day service in a Royal Park, and he was stopped and told by a park official to go and get a license before he could take pictures. Bear in mind also, if you're using a compact camera like I'm shooting this video on, it's unlikely that you're going to attract attention from any official. If you're using a tripod, however, that is something which may or may not, for the right reasons, give an official license to come over and stop you because he thinks you're selling pictures purely because you're using a tripod. I'm now stood on the Mall, or on a pavement just off the Mall. Photographers have a right to take pictures provided they're standing in a public area. Pavements and roads, largely speaking, are public areas, therefore a photographer has a right to take pictures from those areas provided they're not breaching any other law. One thing to bear in mind is that if you're using a tripod and that's deemed to be causing an obstruction, the police can ask you to move on. So adopt a common sense approach at all times. Standing outside Scotland Yard on 16th of February this year, a lot of photographers complained because a new law had come in, effectively bringing in legislation that could have you arrested for taking a picture of a policeman or a member of the intelligence services. This didn't go down well with amateurs or professionals, and you can check out our website to see more details of this. Above all, remember that the police do not have a right to delete your pictures or confiscate your camera equipment. If they do ask for this, they would need to provide a court order before they can confiscate pictures. They cannot delete pictures, they can review pictures as part of their anti-terrorism powers.